everybody, and welcome to another very, very special episode of Burn the Talking Points. I am Karen Darks, the Executive Director of the Maryland Democratic Party, and we are joined by none other than Mayor Brandon Scott of Baltimore City. And I am so excited because we are here at my alma mater, Morgan State University, to have a special Black History Month conversation on Burn the Talking Points. What you guys can't see is that we're in a room full of students, mainly political science, pre-law, and people that are engaged in the political process as college students at Morgan State. And you will hear some questions for them a little bit later. But first, Mayor Scott, thank you so much for joining us here today. We are so excited. We know that you have been all over the place and everybody is talking about the incredible work that you're doing here in Baltimore City. So as a state party, we're super excited to have you on our platform.
Good to be on. Great.
So I'm going to jump right into things. So we had time for questions from the students. Can you just share a little bit about your origin story with us? How did Brandon Scott go from being a kid in Baltimore City to being the youngest mayor in its history?
Wow. I think it's a true Baltimore story. So I grew up in Baltimore. I was born in 1984, a long time for these students. It's like ancient for them. But I grew up in Baltimore in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. I lived in Park Heights. My address was on the same street as Morgan. So 2551 West Cold Spring Lane in over in Northwest Baltimore in Park Heights. But really the origin for me wanting to be in public service is not a good thing. Before I was 10 years old, I was 7 or so years old. It's the first time I saw someone get shot. And it wasn't just that event, it was the aftermath or lack thereof. Like the next day, I was supposed to just go back to school like nothing happened, right? I remember pestering all of my family members, my older cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and my parents about why no one actually cared about what happened there. And my mom, in a way that Black moms can only really do, when they're trying to tell, I watch my wife do this all the time, when we're trying to tell a kid to be quiet, but not try to step on their dream or the importance of what they're saying at the same time. And she just said, listen, if you wanted to change, you got to change it yourself. No one else is going to come and save us. So at the same time, my older cousin, who everyone thinks is my uncle, who runs the family business, right, would get invited to all these campaign events for people that wanted to run for mayor or city council or state delegate or senator or governor. And just so happens that I always was the person that went with him. So I knew exactly who was supposed to be responsible. But that if you ask my family, they will tell you since that age, I said I wanted to be the mayor of Baltimore to make Baltimore better. So I set my life off in that way. I went to, it's in Baltimore, so you got to talk about where you went to school. I went to Roland Park for middle, went to Merville right down the street from Morgan State for high school, and then to Morgan's sister school, St. Mary's College of Maryland for undergrad, where I studied political science. If you folks who don't know, St. Mary's and Morgan are sister schools because there are only two public universities or colleges in Maryland that are not a part of the University of Maryland system. But then I came home. And I've been working in City Hall. I graduated from college in 2006. I've been working in City Hall since 2007. I started as an unpaid intern and worked my way all the way up to be the CEO. And that's really the story of me, because it's different when you have seen the violence, when the gun's been pointed in your face, when you have to bury friends, when you've been sat down on the curb just because you were breathing while Black in your neighborhood, when you've seen your friends' parents die from opioid and other addiction, when you've lived next to vacant houses, when you never had a air-conditioned classroom until you were in 9th grade at Mervo. It's different when you have that lived experience. And that's what made me grow to be the servant that everyone sees today.
Incredible. What I'm hearing is you wanted to create change, and that when you can see things, you can achieve them, right? So you were around all these people and you could see what you could become, which is incredible. And I also heard you had an unpaid internship. These kids don't know.
But yeah, everybody gets paid.
Back in the day, you didn't get paid skin on political internships. I'd never had a paid political internship. So that is incredible. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Let's jump into some Black history. Who are the people or moments in Black history that have influenced you the most?
Wow. I think about so many, but for me, I have to tell a couple of stories because I have examples direct people that folks think are like these ginormous Black history figures of people that I could touch, right? And that meant the world to me. So now everyone's like, thanks to me as this person that like I talk all the time. I give speeches, I do all these interviews, but there was a time in my childhood where I lost the confidence in my voice. So I had this unique experience of being in what they call gifted and talented or GATE education, they call it advanced academic now, and special ed at the same time because I had to have multiple surgeries on my throat for adenoids and all these other things. And I lost confidence to even speak. Like it literally really, really pushed my confidence level down. I've had the pleasure of knowing the board chair here at Morgan, our forever Congressman Kwesi Mfume, since I was like 7 or 8 years old, because he's really cool with my dad and my uncles. And one day, because we didn't have the Ravens. We had a CFL team, and they played down the street on 33rd Street. And we were at a game, and I had to go to the restroom. And my uncle said, he's going to take you. So I went with him, and when we got in there, he pulled me to the side and said, listen, everybody's telling me about how you're not talking, you're not doing this, you're not yourself. I want you to remember who you come from, what you come from, and that you can be whatever you want to be in life. The only thing that can stop you from doing it is you. And that was the change for me. This is coming from someone that was a congressman that at that time was now the president of the NAACP, someone that I could see who had lived the life that I want to live. So that he's all, I always say, we didn't even tell this story publicly until like 2 years ago. Wow. That my congressman gave me my voice. So he's always one for me. And then the other just happened to have the same job. Congressman Elijah Cummings, I could see him all the time. He's in my school all the time. I could talk to him. And even when I became a council member, I was 27 when I got elected to city council for the first time, 4 years after I started as a unpaid intern. And if I'm going to be truthful, a lot of the older Black male electeds, right, didn't really welcome me in, right? It was really him and Senator McFadden that really welcomed me in. A lot of them saw me as competition, as someone that was coming to like replace them. But he consistently would call me to his office, meet with me, talk with me, give me advice. And also he could be very hard on me, which I appreciated. I knew it. When that phone rang and he said, Brandon, come to my office. I was like, oh, hell, what did I do this time? I've been on the other end of that. But yeah, you know how that, like you're like this larger than life figure. But for me, now I know, like he put a lot in me and he took that time because he saw something in me. And I'll never forget the last one. And it's something that like in his infinite wisdom, he knew what I was going to need when he was gone. He called me over to his office and Harry Spikes, who, worked for him for years.
Working on Mr. Morgan.
Yeah, Mr. Morgan, yeah, Harry. Harry, he never asked Harry to leave the room, ever. And when he asked Harry to leave the room, I was like, oh, I know. I thought I did something wrong. He said, Brandon, I want to tell you something. He said, one thing that I love about you is that no matter who a person is, they could be someone cleaning a bathroom. They can be someone who is your biggest political opponent. You treat everybody with dignity and respect. He said, never lose that. Never lose it. Because one day you're not going to have a title to your name and you're going to have to be Brandon from Park Heights again. And one day I'm not going to be here to mediate, to step in. And I said, yes, sir. 2 weeks later, he was gone. He knew. And he said, people are going to come for you when they know folks like me aren't around anymore. And it happened at his funeral. That's how much of a vision he had of the world that he lived and existed in. And for me, just the local ones. And then Mayor Rawlings Blake, she gave me my first job. I wouldn't be here if it were not for her taking a chance on me when I was a young person, and then allowing me to be in every room. When people say like, well, you look like you're young, but you been around a while and you know how to deal with emergencies. Well, that's because I was in the room. I got to see it, and nothing can replace being and seeing things and seeing how things are going to come at you before you're the person they're coming at. And I think for me, those are the local ones that I talk about. When you think about the big fish, I grew up in a household where there was two people that you had to know a lot about. One is Muhammad Ali and the other is Malcolm X. All right. You had to learn a lot about them. And it was really my dad, my uncles, they pressed on us the importance of being strong black men and not shivering in that blackness and walking in that blackness and understanding that like where my family comes from. So on my dad's side, my family comes from rural North Carolina, where in the 1700s as black people, they were free, which was very rare in rural North Carolina at the time. And when you know that these folks have never owned you, that they are going to look at you, they can tell, they can almost smell it on you, and they know that you're going to carry yourself a different way. But for me, Black history and my figures, that's who it is. It's my family. It's my aunts, my uncles, my parents, my grandparents, my older cousins. I see the things and hear the things that they went through growing up. Like my dad, right? It's not an ancient thing for me. My dad was in school in what we call middle school when they integrated schools where they're from. I drive past that school every time I go back home to see, and we have our family, like we would do. I know I hear the story from him. And this is a quick aside. When they first integrated, there was a young man, young white student who lived across the street, and his dad gave him a pistol and told him it's okay to go to school and shoot one of those niggas. Like that happened to my dad. Wow. Right. So for me, they are the Black history, living Black history for me, because I get to talk to them every day.
Wow, that's incredible. I heard a couple of things. Something that really sticks out to me because I'm not originally from Baltimore, I'm originally from New Jersey, but I came down to Morgan and I've stayed in Maryland. It's else that old big guy in his soul. I've been here ever since. But something that really sticks out to me about how tangible these leaders were to you, I think is pretty unique to Baltimore in itself. I think that for a lot of people, I feel as a person coming from the outside in that sometimes people take for granted what you all have here in Baltimore. My introduction to politics was through Baltimore, was through Maryland. Going to a political event in the state of Maryland and people are literally doing the electric slide. I mean, that does not happen every slide. That literally does not happen everywhere. And then hearing you, I mean, all of these people that you named, right? I was on the board with Kwesi Mfume. I voted for him to be chair of the board. I was on the board with Congressman Cummings and then worked for him for 4 years as his national fundraiser. And like all of these people, even Stephanie Rollins Blake, even yourself, all of you could have left Baltimore, but you all decided to come back and lead your communities and be the example for the next generation. I think that is truly a Baltimore story. It's really, really special. So I'm going to move on to another question, and bear with me. I was a political science major, not a journalism major. So I'm doing my best here. Okay. I want to ask you, how do you think about legacy, both like personally and collective, and when serving as mayor?
For me, that really is everything. If you go back to when I first became mayor, I talked about changing the way that we've thought about being the mayor of Baltimore, right? And
Can you remind everybody what was happening when you first became mayor?
well, I became mayor like on the height of the COVID pandemic. Lucky me. So there was no electric sliding at an inauguration for me. There was no dancing. There was no celebration. It was me and my parents. I raised my hand, and then I didn't even get to give the speech inside. I had to walk outside in the cold and give it. And the first thing I said was, everybody has to go home and don't come back until I tell you to, which, it's a crazy thing to think about now that we're a long way, 6 years, God, 6 years away from the pandemic. But the other thing for me, because it was at a very trying time for the city, we were still on the heels of the unrest of Freddie Gray. We had just had another upheaval in the mayor's office with a mayor leaving and ultimately going to prison. And folks were looking at leadership in City Hall as like this cycle, that we would just be in this cycle over and over and over again. And for me, as someone who grew up here, during the time where we had zero tolerance policing, a lot of the influx of drugs and guns and all of that, I obviously had a very different viewpoint. And now I know actually Dr. Andre Bunley, who works for me now, who runs the mayor's office of African American male engagement, helped me see it in a different way. I've known Dr. Bunley since I was in daycare. But he said, Brandon, you have to understand something. You're the first mayor that actually had to live through it all. And I took a step back and I said, he's right. Because even the mayors that look like me, it's a different experience for them. They're older, right? And many of them lived in neighborhoods not like mine, right? But if you're older, it's just different. You know, if you're 25, 30, 40, 50 years old doing 90s and early 2000s, you don't have the same experience as someone who was 13, 14, 15, 16. You just don't, right? Where we were looked at as a problem to solve every single day. We were the problem. So what was happening is that mayors were really governing 3 years to get reelected in the fourth, never thinking about the city 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, right? And when someone did that, like Mayor Rollins Blake did that, she said, we're going to have a 10-year financial plan for the city. People went crazy because like, they're like, no, we need you to do this stuff right now. Forget about the future. So I said that I was going to always do the right thing, even when it's unpopular and even when it was politically bad for me. And that meant focusing more on legacy, more on making sure that whoever comes behind me, not just immediately, but in the distant future, is handed a city in a much better position than I am. That they're not getting what I get sometimes, checks from people who haven't been there since 1985 or 6, right? And then we're like, wow, I didn't agree to this. They did. I was 1 year old when this was agreed to, and now we have to pay for it. It's about making sure, also for me, it's very important. This city is the birthplace of racial redlining. When people think about all the issues that exist in Baltimore, they try to placate it into the simple thing like, oh, well, where you have a bunch of black people, things are going to be bad. Has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's about the systematic things that were put in place. So imagine me, this young-ish black guy who works in a office and has ceremonies in a room where the first racial redlining law was passed. And the only way to undo those things is to undo the policy. And policy like that isn't an easy thing to undo. You have to do that over time. You have to think about things in a different way. And for me, I wanted my legacy to be about operating in that way in the best interest of the city and not in the best interest of me. Drives my political staff, who you know very well, nuts when I say that, like, well, if you go out, Mr. Mayor, and say that everyone needs to go home because of COVID, people are going to be mad and it's only your first day. And I said, well, there's one thing that you have to be in order to be mad with somebody. And they said, what's that? I said, alive. That's why I'm going to do it. Or when I said, walked out of a row home in East Baltimore and said, we're going to reduce homicides in Baltimore by 15% 1 year to the next. They're like, why do you have to give them out? Because if we don't give ourselves something to strive to, we will just accept whatever happens, right? We have to do those tough things. Or when we got $640 million of American Rescue Plan, that I said, like, no, we're going to invest it into recreation and parks. We're going to invest it into housing. We're going to invest it into community violence intervention so that we're building an infrastructure for a longer sustainable city. And now that people see all these new rec centers popping out of the ground, they see that nice new blue and gold field down the street at Merville. They see us building libraries for the first time, literally in 20 years in the city. People can see in these neighborhoods where the housing is popping up, vacants are at a 20-year low, vacant violence is at a 50-year low in the city. Now they can see why you have to do it for the long term and not a short term focused thing. But it is easier to do what is popular. What is right very seldomly is popular. What is going to get you the likes on TikTok and Instagram most of the time is the wrong thing to do. And we don't need elected officials, especially in the moment that we're in right now, to do the popular thing. We need to do the right thing.
I agree 110%. That you kind of naturally segue into the last two questions that I kind of have for you. One is, how do you center young people and students when making decisions about the future of the city?
Well, if you ask some folks, they say I center the young people too much, but it's really that way, right? I have to think about them. They are our most precious resource and the thing that we should invest in the most. Because if ultimately, if we want Baltimore to be the best version of itself, they all have to be the best version of themselves, right? That's simple math. I was not a math major. I was a political science major. But if the children don't grow to be the best them, then the community won't be at its best. So we try to think about our young people in our decisions, but also in our budgets, right? Budgets are your moral document. There is no shame in my game that in my time in office, Rec and Parks has seen a 40% increase in their budget. There's no shame for me that my last two budgets have been the highest amount the city schools has ever received from Baltimore city government, right? We have to center our young people in that way and also in deeper ways. When we think about the things that programs that we want for them, right? Folks think about like, oh, what are you going to do for the kids for the summer? We should do this. We should do this. We should do that. I'm like, oh, why would I ask you? You're 40 years old. What do you know that is what a 16-year-old wants to do? We actually go to them, and we have a group of about 300 of our young people that help and work with my staff to develop
Awesome.
what kind of programming they're going to see. When we're building, I got a lot of trouble with my neighbors. There's a new rec center in my old neighborhood being built right now. And my neighbors at the community association were, well, Brandon, you didn't ask us what we wanted to see in the rec center. I was like, well, let's take a step back. Everybody in here that's been in there, the old one, in the last 6 months, raise your hand. It was me and one other person. And then I said, so why would I ask you? I said, but more importantly, should I go ask the kids at the school what we're going to put in the new senior center? They're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, exactly. They're the ones that are going to use it the most. Obviously, we'll take your input, but we have to be focused on our young people because they are the future of the city.
It's important. I mean, we all see in the news, everybody talks about issues in cities with young people not having anything to do or what are they doing. So that's a
Can I
direct
talk about that
solution.
for a second? I think that especially for the groups that are in the audience and those that'll see that, we have to understand the power, right? I don't want to botch the quote, but Malcolm X basically told us that the media will have you thinking that the oppressed people are the oppressors and vice versa, right? Data doesn't lie. And I want all of our, especially our young people, to know that this information is out there. When you hear that, like, oh, all the cars that are being stolen in the city of Baltimore or Prince George's County, because that's no longer to talk about, is being stolen by children, youth, juveniles. No, most people that get arrested for stealing cars are adults, right? And we have to understand, especially as young Black people, from the dawn of this country, the young Black people, especially young Black men, have been created to be the boogeyman. They always need a boogeyman for people to be afraid of. Right now, they're creating a bunch of different boogeymans, right? If you're for Hispanic heritage or an immigrant, you're the boogeyman. But as I say to young Black people all the time, and young Black men in particular, they might not start with you every time, but they're going to come back home, right? You are always going to be enemy number one for them. And we have to do the data, right? You guys have at your fingertips. You can look this information up for yourself and fight back on those narratives that they're pushing down, right? There's a reason why certain media stations say the same things over and over and over and over again, particularly about you or people that look like you, including me. They want people to buy into these age-old stereotypes that you're always going to be a criminal. You're always a threat, even when someone sees you. You're always going to be corrupt no matter what you do. Push back on that. Do your own research and challenge and also turn them off. Don't give them the airtime. Don't give them the clicks because they drive that message about you, not just here, but across the world.
So when I first came to Baltimore, I came right after the era of The Wire. So I can directly speak to family members that said, don't come to Morgan, don't come to Baltimore. Have you seen The Wire? I didn't have HBO. We can afford it. So I didn't see The Wire before I came to Baltimore. And obviously it didn't deter me from coming, or a number of my classmates who came from around the country from coming to Morgan and making Baltimore their home. Can you talk about how Baltimore has seen meaningful progress in safety?
Yeah.
You've touched on it. What values or principles really guide that work, and how do you really measure success beyond the statistic?
Well, I think that just to start there, right? People think about like those numbers as numbers. For me, those people, right? Like we have to understand. I'll be 42 in a few months, but I'm 41 now. 18 of the 41 years that I was alive, Baltimore had 300 murders, right? Think about that. Like, I can't tell you the amount of funerals that I've been to myself. I can't tell you now the amount of funerals that I've been to and spoken to as a mayor, how many parents that I've yielded calls from, and people that, like, literally as the mayor, the city, I've had to say, look, y'all, we have to help pay for this baby's funeral. People don't understand that these aren't numbers. These are people
Right.
gone away from their family members, people that will never grow into the best version of themselves. And as you know, Baltimore, there's like zero point 0.5 degrees of separation in Baltimore, and how it impacts everybody here, right? So when you think about going from 300 and something all the way to 133, I don't think about that as a statistical drop. I think about all those hundreds of people that are still breathing, that are still here, their family not dealing with the trauma, their community not dealing with that trauma. That's what this is about for me, right? Because I've lost people here, right? Like, everybody has the experience. If you've been here in this town all your life, you have had it hit you. So for us, it's really grounded in that, in the community itself, in the healing, in the saving of lives. And we flipped it on its head. We no longer subscribe to the thought that has existed for so long, not just in Baltimore, but in this country, that police alone have shared the full load of dealing with violence, right? And I think I'm in Morgan, so everyone here is a brilliant person. When we think about it in its actual numbers form, in the height of the Baltimore Police Department, it had 3,000 police officers. So 3,000 police officers, only about 13 or 1,400 of them ever really work at the same time. 1,400 people can't keep 600,000 people safe. It's physically impossible for that to happen, right? But culturally in this country, we have been brainwashed to think that that's actually the only thing, the only solution that can deal with that issue. No, they play a very important part in dealing with violence, where they're not the only part. And what we have now done is, through our comprehensive violence prevention plan that we laid out in 2021, a 5-year plan that people went crazy. We don't have 5 years. We got to do it now. But we said that we're going to look at, first, public safety and violence is a public health issue. It was our most pressing at that time. We're going to look at it in a comprehensive way. Actually, the health commissioner is responsible for presenting the plan to me. But this is what we did. We know through data that roughly 2% of the population are the people that are most likely to be the victim or the perpetrator of gun violence. Well, wouldn't it be wise of us to say, instead of having our police officers go to every neighborhood where people look like me, or poor white people in South Baltimore historically too, and just say anybody that lives there that's outside is most likely? No, we can identify exactly who those people are. So we did. And through our group violence reduction strategy, which is both is a focused deterrence model, which means it's a carrot and stick, where we tell people you have to stop doing what you're doing, right? Or we're going to remove you. People get a letter directly from me that says, basically, look, you get one chance from me. That's it. I got all the resources for you to change your life. If you don't, I'm taking you out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we've seen that work, right, by going through those groups. And we've seen this big reduction, right? Homicides going from 300 and something down to 133. We have been above the national average for the decline because homicides have declined across the country, but we have been beating that, those numbers. We've been leading the nation in that way. But we also invest in community violence intervention, paying people who used to be involved in that life to go out there and intercede in that. There's a young gentleman standing outside the door, one of my officers that works directly with me. He and I grew up together in Park Heights, right? We can go to the corners in our neighborhood and have conversations that most police officers and definitely most mayors cannot have. But we still cannot have the conversations that some of our friends that used to be in the life can have on those corners, which is why through Safe Streets, We Are Us, all these other community violence intervention programs, we can have a deeper impact. Investing in programs like ROCA, where they're taking these folks, young guys and girls, and training them up on how to be themselves and getting them jobs. That's the way that you have to attack it. And then focusing on guns. Not just the person pulling the trigger. We're going to always hold those people accountable, turn them folks over to our attorney general, our state's attorney, and even our federal attorney partners when necessary. But we focus on the companies too. We sued Polymer 80, which was the nation's largest ghost gun company, and ended their business in the state of Maryland and really their business, period. We won the largest lawsuit against any gun store in this country's history last year because we knew a gun store in Anne Arundel County was purposely going around Maryland's gun laws and giving guns to people that they knew were going to use it in crime in Baltimore, right? We have to focus on all of it. It's not just some of it. And that investment into youth, all of that stuff plays a part of how we've done it. And I was asked this yesterday by CBS National. They were like, well, the president is taking credit for what's happening in the cities around the country in Baltimore. I said, no, Baltimore is responsible for Baltimore's drop.
And I promised that I wouldn't have too much of a partisan conversation here today, but we are the Maryland Democratic Party. And I do want to say that, I've been in rooms in the DNC and different places where we talk about crime and violence and how we're going to talk about it as Democrats. And, many of us that have the privilege of being in those rooms, I might have been in one of those rooms with Tracy on your seat, probably. But many of us were in that room, we're just like, we can't ignore it. We have to own it, and we have to figure out how we're going to talk about it. And I just have to say, as the Maryland Democratic Party, we're super proud that the mayor of our major city of the state is taking this on in such an incredible way and speaking about it the way that you are and being the counter to what's happening in the White House federally around this issue and the way that we talk about violence in our American cities, because the reality is a lot of these cities are led by Democrats and are led by people of color. A lot of Black people are running these cities. And if you see that a lot of the Black mayors of these cities are the direct reason why the crime is coming down because of the things that you're talking about, right?
And we know that's why the attacks come there, whether it's myself, my mayor brother Brandon, Tyler, we're Brandon, a mayoral firm in Chicago, in Birmingham with Randall, Mayor Lee in Oakland. You can see all of us, and we're all doing similar things. And I just think that we have to keep doing that. And if people ask me this all the time, who should be the face for the Democrats of talking about gun violence? I tell them all the time, if we want to win, put the mayors in.
Yeah.
The people on the ground should be leading the conversation because we know it in ways that no one else can. And there's no disrespects to them. But I think that our delegations around the country could learn a lot from ours here because Congressman Mfume will tell you very quickly, the mayor's the quarterback because they have to live with it every day. Their job is to work with us and support us. And they do a great job of supporting us. And that's how we have to work together.
And that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, those relationships, right? So like everybody is from Baltimore, has stayed in Baltimore. You all actually know each other aside from just being elected officials together, and you're able to work together to solve these problems for the city. So with that, I'm going to turn it to questions from our students. I will start with the first person who I see a hand raised. It's this gentleman right here.
All right, good morning, Mayor Scott. My name's Devin Weiner. I'm an English senior major here at Morgan State. And I heard you mention your wife. So can you speak about the importance of Black marriage and Black relationships and how it can affect our political situation in Black people as a whole?
Yeah, I think for me, listen, I got married at an older age, but my wife is the best thing that ever happened to me. Actually, I met my wife at a time when I had never been more mentally down, uh, than when I met my wife. A young man that went to my high school was shot right before a football game. There's someone that I knew, and his mom told me that he was looking for me. Right? I was out, and meeting my wife really helped reset my life personally and mentally, most importantly. And when you're working towards anything, you have to have something that is not, you can't live your life and solely be focused on yourself and solely be focused on your work. For me, that love, that black love and partnership around our family and wanting each other to be successful and for our children to grow means everything. But also, it helps me understand and do my job in a better way because now I already treated all of the children in Baltimore like they were my own, but now I actually have three of my own to really understand what the parents are going through, right? I already was this big proponent and always ready to fight for black women, but now because I have my mom, my cousins, all of these folks, but now I have my wife that I see every day with the stuff that she goes to. And if we are going to, especially as black men, grow into our full potential, one of the things that we have to continuously grow and evolve in is how we support the most talked down upon, frowned upon, put upon being on the planet, which is black women. And it's really our responsibility first to be there to support them as they have always done for us.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi. Good afternoon, Mayor Scott. My name is Armani Marine, and the question I have for you is what's some advice you would give for young African-American students who are interested in running for something, whether it is city council, mayor, or governor?
I would just say, first of all, do it if you want to do it. But I would tell you to learn it, right? Like learn all the insides and outs, right? That, as I've said to you guys earlier, that time that I had as an intern and then as a staffer for those 4 years before I ran for office unlocked a lot of stuff for me that a lot of elected officials don't know, right? Because when you're a legislator, most legislators don't really know operations of city government. But it was different for me because I worked on the operations side and the legislative side. And for me, it also helped me break through the age barrier. It was very hard for my council colleagues to look at me as this young boy that didn't know anything when I was a staffer for then Council President Rollins Blake before she became Mayor Rollins Blake. I was the one writing their legislation, right? I was the one working with them to show them how these things worked, and then growing and working in all those different parts of city government, and also working on campaigns, right? Knowing both sides of what political office looks like, you can't replace it. So volunteer on campaigns, work for campaigns, take those internships. I have a fellowship with four HBCU grads in Baltimore, Morgan and Coppin, right, where they actually get paid a lot. They actually get paid more than I got paid at City Hall. But take all those experiences, but also work in the community that you want to serve in, right? Don't be one of these people that show up like the year that election is going to happen and be like, oh, I want to be this person now. Like, and people are like, well, what have you done in the community? Nothing. I just think I should be in charge, right? I have a bunch of money. Someone else has a bunch of money that they're going to give me because I'm going to do whatever they say. Wherever you want to serve, be in that community now, because that's the important thing. You grow in that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of people say the best politicians are ones that were former staff.
It is.
And then a lot of people said the best people to work for are people who have been former staffers as well.
You got to ask Tracy that.
As well. I was just saying, a lot of people say that, and it may be true. All right. I saw a lot of hands go up. We got the mic. Go here.
Yes. Right here. Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, Mayor Scott. I'm a philosophy major. I'm a senior. So what I'm going to ask you is like more moral. I'm also in poli-sci and pre-law. So I'm going to ask you more of like a moral standpoint.
Smart.
So you shared that witnessing a shooting at age 10 shaped how you understand violence from a moral standpoint. What responsibility does a city have to protect children, not just from physical harm, but from the trauma of witnessing violence? And also, do you believe leaders such as yourself in the position who have experienced them, they carry a different moral obligation?
To answer the last one first, absolutely. Because like I said, it's different. Like if you never had to duck bullets, if you never had the gun in your face, if you never like lost someone close to you to gun violence, you can empathize, but you will never know. You will never know. You can read as many books, watch as many episodes of The Wire as you want. You will never know what that gut wrenching pain feels like. It's something that never leaves you. It's like literally in my job, the toughest thing that I do is talking to people who have lost people. Being the person that has to tell someone that their child or their parent is never coming home, as many as times as you do it, it never gets easier. But it's even harder if you know the pain. And I think that the basic, most important responsibility of any government, city, state, or otherwise, is to protect the people of that place. And I think that we are evolving in the way that we do that, and having people with that lived experience in office, in positions, not just in mine, but across agencies, and helping us understand and grow the way that we deal with those issues is critically important. Because if we continuously, I don't want to pick on Congress right now, but like if we continuously to have folks that have no understanding, right, we'll keep getting what we're getting, especially at the federal level. Because I was in ninth grade when Columbine, which people consider like the first big school shooting, happened. And they said, never again, we're going to pass laws to do something about it. And here we are in 2026. I have been out of high school since 2002 and out of college since 20 years ago. And we're still having the same conversation because so many of those folks, in my opinion, they can see it, but they don't feel it in their bones. It doesn't make them sick the way that it makes me sick because they've never experienced it themselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sky Williams. I'm a junior political science major, and I serve as Miss Political Science Association.
All right.
I wanted to speak to your point about you losing your voice physically. I wanted to know what advice you would have for somebody who's trying to find their voice creatively or politically, and just what you would say to someone who really just wants to find their voice as a person.
I think that the most important thing is that you have to be comfortable with your voice first. Before you're concerned about what anyone else thinks about what you say or how you sound or what is coming from you, you have to be comfortable with it. And even after that, right? Like, I love Tracy and all the folks that like write speeches and talking points for me, but they know I'm going to brand it up once they give it to me. Because at the end of the day, I want it to sound like me. I want the people to be able to understand that this was me. But when you're searching for it, keep searching, right? Don't get dismayed. Make yourself uncomfortable. I say this to young people all the time. The only way you grow into the best you is that you force yourself to be uncomfortable. Putting yourself around people who don't think, look, act, have the same interest as you, that will challenge you in every way. And then you'll find it and you will hit that stride and be like, now I know what my purpose is. Now I know where I'm supposed to be. But you have to have those people around you that can push you. If you met my closest friends, you would think that we hated each other, the way that we're always like trying to push each other to be better. Like we're still on a track team. Like, no, we have to push each other to grow so that we grow together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
To that last point, those people that you're talking about, I met a lot of those people at Morgan that are in my circle right now, that studying for the political science test, preparing me for my student regent interview, preparing me for the Miss Black and Gold pageant. Those people are still in my circle and challenge me to this day. So they'll probably be like, Karen, I ain't like that question that you asked the mayor in that interview. They'll be the same people to challenge me today. So I have a closeout question for you. So I think many of us have seen that you've been doing playlists. I think that you put one out with your wife.
I put mad time after listening to that one.
And everything. I appreciate the disclaimer you put that one.
For sure.
If you were to create, if you and your wife were to create a Black History Month playlist, what would be some songs that you would put on your Black History Month?
Well, y'all getting a preview because I already started on this. Let me see here. Go to my playlist on Spotify. Oh, I might as well post it tonight now. Or maybe this weekend. Let's see. So the playlist is called Say It Louder, the Black Empowerment playlist. So just some of the songs that are on there right now that I've already had started with. Obviously, you got to have Say It Loud, James Brown, Black and I'm Proud on there. Got Tupac, Keep Your Head Up on there. I'm an African by Dead Prayers is on there. Nas's Ultra Black is on there. UNITY Unity by Queen Latifah is on there. Fight the Power, which was my favorite song as a kid. Public Enemy is on there. People Get Ready by The Impressions. Yeah, you know, it'll be like that. It's gonna be like Bliggity Black for me. So
You might be showing our age a little bit.
it is. I am fully embracing my unk status. You see, I'm pretty good.
It's good. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Scott, for being on Burn the Talking Points and being here at Morgan State University with members of the political science department, philosophy, everybody else that is interested in getting politically engaged. We're so really grateful for your time, and you gave us a lot of time to spend with us. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.